Well, welcome to the Hasn't Been 3 Days podcast, where you have Justin, my co host, and myself, BJ. We talk about 3 day old news, sports, and whatever else we want to talk about. You, the MVP listeners, listen in and you get to laugh and you get to hate on our takes and opinions, and you can let us know, but just make sure it's been 3 days. So, welcome back to another episode. We're just rolling, Justin. This is really cool. We're having fun. If nothing else, we're getting some creative outlet going here, and it's been fun. I want to just give a quick update again. Weekly increase. We are not influencers by any means. We are impressionists, and our impressions have increased once again thanks to our MVP listeners. We are up to 303 impressions off of last week's episode. So, congratulations, Justin. How's
Well,
your weekend been?
it's been good. Yeah, 303. Wowzers. Um, I think that was because we finally went on Facebook. And that was kind of
Yeah,
new because I had people come up to me like, "Hey, I heard about your podcast." And then I was like, "How'd you hear about that?" Because we weren't on Facebook yet. And so there's been some interesting comments and people saying, "Oh, I'm going to listen to this." And so I had that this weekend. My brother and sister-in-law and my nephew came in to town for the holiday weekend, and we got to hang out and watch football and um, enjoy some family time. We got a lot of family time in. Then Monday, I got to golf on Labor Day,
there
even though the
you
golf course forgot my tee time, and they
go.
had to
Uh-oh.
squeeze us in. But it's a good time. How about you?
Good, good. Yeah, no, I think it's good. I purposely, we talked about it a little bit, I guess. I purposely did ask you last week if we could go to Facebook and go public with this a little bit more. And our content last week kind of took a organic turn, which we know can happen in our conversations. And I thought it was very important that some people hear it. I got a lot of feedback myself just on they appreciated our takes on some of those serious conversations we had and just the way we presented it. So, thanks for having the conversation and sitting in it. That's pretty awesome. And then weekend, yeah, it was a good weekend. Got to again spend some time with my kids on Saturday and just had a good time with them. And then I took off for work on Sunday and have been remote in a different part of the country right now. So I'm enjoying that. But I got to watch some live sports over the weekend as I was flying, so that was cool. Free TV on Southwest. Shout out Southwest. So I got to watch the golf, and maybe this could be a little bit of a transition for us. I was just curious. One of the things I wondered about is why are we drawn to major events as sports fans? I know I don't follow all the sports, but when there's a major thing going on, we tend to be sucked into it, or I know I do. The FedEx Players Championship was this weekend, and Scotty Scheffler won the FedEx Cup, and then we've got the U.S. Open in tennis going on. We just came through the Olympics. Baseball playoffs are shaping out. NFL starting, college football starting. I mean, major things going
Everything.
on. We kind of just get into this place. I'm sitting in my hotel room and turned on the U.S. Open. I'm like, why would I watch this? Well, it's a major. So we tend to be gravitate. Do you find yourself gravitating towards things that could be newsworthy or things that are just like, well, that's a major. That's something that I should pay attention to. And why? Why do you get drawn? What do you get drawn to, and why?
Well, I think it's because, like, I'm on Twitter or X, so a lot of people have opinions. And so sometimes I just want to see what people, if I'm seeing the same thing other people are seeing or understanding how they're viewing it. Because I know
Mm,
how I view it. I just want to read how people are understanding that. And sometimes I pick up on things that I totally miss too. Like, especially like football and stuff. You pick up on different things. I will literally watch, you know, every sporting event, like Husker football, I'll watch, but I'll watch Twitter at the same time because there'll be 15, 16 different eyes on it to give me a different perspective while you're watching the game real time. But
mhm.
major sports. I think it's just because I it's just been. I think it probably goes back to the days of cable, right? It was the only thing that was on cable, and it was the only thing on TV. So Sunday afternoon, you're watching PGA golf. Sunday afternoons after church, and you go have beef tips and rice, and you sit down in the living room and you watch golf with your dad, right?
Yep.
At
Yep.
least around your house when I invited
Hmm.
myself over for lunch. But yeah, I think it's just because we kind of grew up. I think most of us grew up watching that stuff on cable, so I think you just kind of gravitate to those major sports because back then when we were growing up, you only watched a few things at a time. So
Yeah, that's true. And speaking of, I mean, TV directing our fandom, I know it directed my fandom for a long time. I was a huge Cubs fan for the longest time growing up because you had WGN or you had TBS to watch baseball.
go Braves!
And so, yeah, it was Cubs or Braves, and that's where I started liking the Cubs until I went to Wrigley Field. So, that's, that's a whole nother story. But yeah, TV can direct our fandom for sure.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. But like the golf, and especially with golf this weekend, it's kind of the end of the season when you have this,
Hmm.
Scotty Scheffler. You just kind of want to see how he's going to play. All the distractions, having a kid, got arrested at the beginning of the year. Thought
Hmm.
maybe he's going to get arrested during the round, maybe I don't know. But I kind of joked about that on your press conference. Like I had a lot of distractions this year, especially at the beginning. But yeah, that guy, that's one guy that just kind of played through a lot of things this year, and I mean every achievement this year, he pretty much checked off.
Yeah,
Gold
yeah,
medal, like I think that's why people get drawn in too, is because it's somebody who's a professional who's at the Olympics, which draws everybody in, and
true.
then kind of brings you back that way.
Well, and I did notice on the broadcast they highlighted, I mean, all in golf, all four majors, the winners were all Americans this year. It was an American sweep of all the major golf events, and that's the first time that's happened in a long time. Then Scheffler had just a remarkable season of winning 7 times on the tour this year, and Xander Schauffele won 2 of those 4 majors, so that's a big deal. And but when I think of Scheffler's seasons, winning 7 times on the tour, that hasn't been done since Tiger did it. He did it multiple times, but 7 times in one season is pretty remarkable. And I was watching that. I was watching the whole. I watched the whole back nine while I was on the plane, and he has the one bad hole, 2 bogeys in a row, but the one bad hole with the shank, and then the commentators are trying not to talk about it because of all the superstition of the
Yeah,
shank and what happens after that. And then he proceeds to birdie the next 3 holes
real.
after those 2 bogeys, and I thought that's why he's having such the year that he is. I mean, he even went on before the playoffs started and said he didn't like the format of the FedEx playoffs with the 10-stroke lead and all this stuff, and I probably agree with him. He's like, all I got to do is stay upright, and I'm going to be leading going into the players. And he wasn't saying it pridefully per se, but he's just like, maybe we need to adjust this and change it a little bit. And I would probably agree with him. There was a couple guys that were climbing the leaderboard at the end of the Sunday that had played a better week of golf than he did as far as scores were concerned, but he's still the best golfer in the world right now, and he proved it coming down the stretch for sure.
Yeah, and what was one of his things in the press conference? I don't know if it was after the round or it was during. I don't remember when it was, but they kept on playing the clip. He kept on talking about what his handicap is when he plays on Fridays and Saturdays when he's not at a tournament, and he gives up he's like a plus whatever, +7 or +9. So he's giving up like 20 strokes to his amateur friends who he goes and plays golf with. So just because he's a pro, he still wants to go play golf with his buddies, and he'll play Wolf, but he's giving up 20 strokes, so he's giving up like 2 strokes a hole, which
Yeah.
is crazy. But I guess when you win $62 million in one year, which is $3.3 million per tournament, $830,000 per round, he's winning,
Wow.
$12,000 per shot, and he's essentially earning $3,000 per minute he was on the court. That's if you played a 4.5 round, if you played it in 4.5 hours. So
Wow.
pretty some
Yeah.
insane numbers there.
Yeah. When we talk about money in sports and professional athletes,
Well,
it gets
I know.
ridiculous pretty quick. But yeah, that's remarkable and good for him. That's one of the things when people talk us Joe Schmoes out here that talk about we don't understand that kind of money. We're never going to understand that kind of money, but good for them to be able to go out and make a living and find a way to do what they've done and be successful. I mean, I don't harbor any ill will to people that are turning their life into success in whatever way they're choosing to make a life for themselves and their family. So congratulations for him and a great season for sure.
And you were talking about tennis earlier. I've been trying to watch more tennis because I'm teaching my daughter to play. She's going to try out in the spring for the high school. So she's never played, and I've um, dabbled in it for a while. And BJ and I used to play tennis. And I think Becky used to play with us too. So my wife, and so now I'm teaching Bree. It's been entertaining. She gets frustrated pretty quick, and she takes it out on the tennis balls. But we're teaching
I
her all
can
the hard.
remember I can remember those times of us playing tennis, and you would do the same thing.
Oh,
You
a
would
hundred
just
percent.
rocket those balls over the fence for sure.
That
So,
or that or my tennis racket straight to the ground and breaking
yep.
strings, and I had to go over and buy another racket real quick. But yeah, no, we're having fun teaching. I'm having fun teaching her. We're taking advantage of the nights where my son's got football and the tennis courts are right there, and so we play for about a half hour, 45 minutes, and we're working on her backhand. That's the hardest thing to teach, and so we're working on that right now. So
Yeah.
trying to watch more tennis to see if she'll come watch it, but she's also a teenager and doesn't want to hang out with her dad. So whatever, I'll take it for whatever I can get.
Yep. Yeah. Those moments with our kids are precious for sure. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's get into some stuff that doesn't really matter. What has sparked your interest in some 3 day old news or some headlines that you've read that maybe you just got to get it up and out because it's just so whatever.
Well, I don't know about up and out, but one dumb thing. I'm gonna bring up the dumb thing. I'm gonna let you have the other one. Um, the dumb thing that I have is Florida State football this weekend. Fan, this is gonna be a
Hold,
quick one.
hold on, hold on. Before you go, I just have to say I was wrong. I did say they would go undefeated this year and miss the playoff. They may not win a game this year the way they're
Florida
looking.
State may not even make the ACC championship game because they're already
Yeah,
0-2 to start out the season, which is crazy to think about.
yeah.
They are currently the only team that's lost on 2 different continents. Um, and
What
so
was that?
they're doing that well this year. But this Florida State fan put out a tweet, and he said that he would eat if he was so confident, just like you, right, undefeated. He was confident that after Georgia Tech that they would beat Boston College. Well, so he wrote on Twitter, and everybody remembers everything he put out on the internet, that he would eat dog poop out of a red Solo cup and film it. Well, everybody came after him on Sunday, and he was nowhere to be found on Twitter anymore. I guess he just kind of jumped ship on that bet. Have you had any bets ever before where you just kind of like ducked out and got out of there?
You know, I don't. I can't recall any bets that I've tried to avoid or anything like that. So nothing. Definitely not like. Well,
Oh,
I've shaved my head because I lost a bet once, but that wasn't a big deal because I was used to shaving my head. But um, yeah, then I shaved my head for my brother's wedding. That was not a good thing.
yeah.
But
I remember that we played golf that weekend,
yes,
and
we did.
and the sun was like glaring. It was just like glaring. I couldn't see the golf balls. Yeah. When you and my brother wore those dresses, that wasn't a bet, right?
Oh, come on now. We got to go there. No, it was not. That was a
Okay.
talent show.
Yeah. All right.
No.
Yeah.
But so, I think it wasn't a bet, but it was a challenge.
A
Somebody
challenge.
challenged us to do that. And, to all the youth pastors that are out there listening, um, I just want to say I don't remember if this was, and we don't need to get into who our youth pastor was at the time. I don't even remember who it was at the time, but um, I just want to apologize for my actions at Camp Maranatha in that year when Nate and I dressed up in dresses to go sing the song, lip sync the song "Kiss Me" at church camp talent show. Yeah, that didn't get us too many dates after that either, so that kind of backfired on us too.
Well,
I think actually our other buddy that's listening, Jeff, our friend Jeff, that was the year at camp.
he
If I'm
took
not
like
mistaken,
9 girls.
he had like 6 girls or something at the banquet that he took on the banquet date. That was a big thing on our camp and stuff. And I don't think Nate and I even took anybody to the banquet after that talent show.
Yeah,
So good
yeah.
kudos to Jeff. He pulled all the
Kudos
girls that week,
to
that
those
year.
Jeff. Hopefully his wife's heard that story, but okay.
True.
I'm pretty sure she has. She's hung around me. I probably told that story.
Yeah.
No, okay. Well, we can move on from that one. I just saw
Yeah.
that and I thought that was, he didn't take the high road. I don't know if I would
No.
have taken the high road.
Yeah, he took the avoidance. That's okay. Sometimes you just got to run away.
Yeah. Yes.
Speaking of running away, the headline I pulled up from last week was a headline. I'm a baseball fan, enjoy baseball. It's getting ready for playoff time, and I found this headline that talked about the baseball trade deadline. Baseball is one of those sports where you can trade a player midseason. It's not a big deal. Players get traded. It's a team game, but it's really based on how you perform as an individual. Let's just be honest. I mean, you're batting up there by yourself, you and the pitcher. You're fielding, the ball comes to you, you're the only one there. When you throw it, it's somebody else, but you know what I'm saying. It's a team game, but it's based on individual performances within that more than other sports, in my opinion. Now, the trade deadline is one of those places where you're sending players to all these places. Well, the headline was a player that was just traded at the trade deadline started playing a game. It's the first time in baseball history that he played for both teams during a rain delay. And when I caught that headline, I'm thinking, that's insane to think about. He played for both teams in the same game after a rain delay. So what happened was he was playing for the first team, and
With
I
the
don't
Red
have the
Sox,
article.
wasn't it? I think
The
it was
Red
Red Sox.
Sox, yeah. And the game was rain delayed. And like they do sometimes in the major leagues, they'll wait till the next series to make that up instead of the next day. So they waited till later on in the year to replay or to finish that game when the two teams, was it the Dodgers and Red
No,
Sox?
so it was a former Blue Jay, current Red Sox
Okay.
catcher, Danny Jensen.
Yeah,
Yep.
and so he was playing for one team. The rain delay happened. Then the trade deadline came, and he gets traded to the other team and finishes the game with the other team after he's been traded. And I thought that's really a crazy stat to say that he played for both teams in the same game after a rain delay. That's like backyard baseball stuff where, hey, we're going to trade you, your third baseman because we need a ghost runner on second base or something.
Yeah. And you only see that in baseball. You don't see that in any other sports, like you said. It's such a drawn out season too.
Mm-hmm.
That helps it as well. This would be really weird if you had a trade deadline, because you would never have a football game that got delayed and start back up somewhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Baseball's that unique thing. Bunch of baseball rules that you have to follow, but you can have these weird one-offs.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. It's definitely I don't know if it's still America's pastime. I doubt it because of how popular football has become, but it definitely is got a lot of idiosyncrasies to the game and to the stats and all that goes on with that for sure. So what else you got? You got anything else for us?
I think the last thing I got, as I saw this article, it was a Wells Fargo employee. This is she was found unfortunately dead at her desk after 4 days she clocked into work. But there's no other employees to know that she was there because they all worked from home. So she
Mm.
came into work, clocked in, and well, no one, this day and age where you have hybrid workers and people coming in, people going out, they didn't really know to check certain people. And I remember our days at Nelnet, working in cubicle farms, if we were hybrid, especially in that back corner and downstairs in the basement where those offices were, I think where your cubicle was, like you could get lost back there for a few weeks. I mean, unless you're starting to stink, no one's gonna know you're there.
Hmm.
So, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's just not the way to go out. Is especially a big company like Wells Fargo. No one's checking on 'em. Either they have lack of employees, even from security, walking around checking on people. But yeah, that might end the whole hybrid thing. You don't know when your employees are coming in or out. It's kind of weird, but yeah.
Yeah.
I,
They need to probably improve their quality assurance on that one.
Yeah, they
So,
probably should make sure. I think they thought originally they didn't think of it. The article says that they thought it was faulty plumbing, and that's too bad that it happened to be someone's life. But that might
yeah.
end hybrid at Wells Fargo in Arizona. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
that's
I hope condolences to her family, and hopefully they can change the policy.
well, yeah. I mean, we have hybrid workers, and but that goes if you're at home by yourself. If you think about it, if you live by yourself and work at home by yourself, like how? I mean, you're not signing on, right? What if you're
Hmm.
a person who never signs into Microsoft Teams or Skype for Business? No one would ever check their email. Would anybody
Yeah.
even know? I mean, like, what's the checks and balances for that? So I've always
True.
kind of wondered that. I don't work hybrid, but if I manage people who work hybrid, I'd probably stop by once in a while just to say hi. But whatever. I don't know. You probably have opinions about that, but
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you had mentioned another conversation that was you'd sent me or sent a message about the flagrant fouls in the WNBA this year. And first of all, before we get into this article, I just want to say it's been talking about following major events in sports. I mean, the rise of the WNBA this season, especially, has been pretty cool to see. You know, I gotta be honest. I mean, I don't sit there and watch women's basketball very regularly, if at all. But at least the headlines are grabbing attention for sure, and there's many different reasons why. But tell us about what you sent us about Caitlin Clark and this statistic with the WNBA.
well, I saw someone from Chicago, um, or somebody retweeted something, said something about an interesting fact, and it came from someone with a verified account, so I think it's real, unless they fake me out. But it said 17% of the WNBA's flagrant fouls this season have been committed against Caitlin Clark, and the Chicago Sky were responsible for 80% of those flagrant fouls committed against Clark. And so I don't know the beef of why she gets picked on so much. I don't know. I mean, I read some comments about this. When you're a superstar, everybody's coming after you. I mean, Jordan had it against the Pistons, right, back in the day. LeBron gets
Mhm,
it.
mhm.
I mean, all the big superstars have it. But just to time her last year in college and then going to the pros, it's just like everybody just wants to beat her down. When you have talent like that, I mean, it's got to me, it's just got part of it's just got to be jealousy. Um,
Mhm.
I don't know what else. I mean, there's no reason that they should be happy that the WNBA is gonna. They might. I don't know. I haven't heard any numbers, but are they going to be able to turn their own profit this year, and the NBA doesn't have to pay for their stuff? Maybe franchise wise, maybe one franchise could, but
Mhm.
I don't know. It's interesting how she's treated, or how
Ye
the media takes it, and moves it on.
Yeah, I mean, it's to me, there's a Tiger element to this. You know, Tiger was so valuable for the PGA Tour and for golf for so many years. He was the reason that the purses for the tournaments continued to rise. And I remember hearing other golfers that were maybe, outside the top five, in that middle of the road tier of golfers back then that were saying, well, we're thankful for Tiger because when Tiger's in a tournament, we get paid more. And it's crazy to me to see some of these WNBA teams and players that are taking this so personally against Caitlin Clark. It's like, I think it was Charles Barkley that said something to the effect of, if you're getting paid more because of one player and your life is getting better because of what she's bringing to your game and to your sport, then you should be thanking her
Yeah.
because she is making your life better and she's got to deal with all the stuff you don't. And
Correct.
he's right in that. I mean, he played in the Jordan era and he knows, he continued to make money because of the fact that Jordan was continuing to make that rise and stuff. But it's, I think you got to be, this is where, okay, so I'm going to turn this. This wasn't the plan, but I'm going
Yeah,
to
you're
turn
doing,
this.
you're
This
doing
is where
good.
self awareness comes in, right? I mean, we sit here and we're going to talk sports and talk about stupid stuff that we want to talk about, but then it turns us back to really what this is about. What's the root of this? The root is that people aren't self aware.
Yep.
And it's not just sports. I mean, we could really go down this trail if we wanted to. I mean, the lack of self awareness in people, it's like you're getting paid so much more money now because of one person, and you don't even have to do all that she's got to do to get that. I mean, you should be sending her a thank you card. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, just look at our teammates on the team. They stopped flying commercial and started flying private because she was just getting mobbed at the airport and everywhere, and that kind of just changed the way the whole NBA traveled, anyways. And I mean, yeah, these franchises have to pay for them, but the exposure is is so much greater than it has been. I mean, I the fact that the WNBA could shut down during the Olympics, right? And then they literally just shut down for the whole time, and then they just pop right back in like nothing happened.
Hmm.
Most sports wouldn't be able to do that if you didn't have somebody to draw you back in. And she wasn't even
Yeah,
playing on the Olympic team.
that's
Like,
a whole different
can
story.
you imagine if she played on the Olympic team? Just crazy. So,
There's some great, so because of Caitlin Clark, there is attention on the WNBA again, and I say again because there's great players in the WNBA. There's players that have been playing quite a while that are still playing, and they're great players. And Caitlin Clark isn't the greatest player of all time, but she's brought headlines to a sport again. I think of when it first kind of got started, and you have Rebecca Lobo, and you've got, Tamika Catchings, and some of these great college players that were so good at UConn and Tennessee and all these different powerhouses in women's college basketball. But then instead of going overseas, they start the WNBA and they are able to play and do all these things. But I did read an article that some of these WNBA players now they don't have to go overseas in the off season to
right.
earn money because they're going to be making more. New TV deals coming out. These teams are going to be worth more. They're going to be able to make more contracts and more money. And so again, I said just like we said about Scheffler, I'm like, good for them.
Yeah.
This is I think we should praise successes regardless. I mean, if it's not hurting somebody else and you can be successful at it, good for you. Good for the WNBA. Kudos WNBA.
Yeah. And, and a lot of people look at it from the aspect of before they were just like the running joke, right? The NBA is the one that supports them, and they probably still do. And they always have because it's a good outlet to teach the game of basketball to all kids. And for to have girls basketball, women's basketball, to have somebody that they know is going to be around for a while, and um, just have that role model. And most of these are in the public eye. They're not doing anything that you can't say. Look at what they do. Besides some of the stuff
Mhm.
they do on the court, but that are kind of not going to teach a kid to foul somebody like that.
No, no, and you're right. Yeah, I mean, it's like, come on, let's be respectful of the game and not do things outside of the game. And if there's a foul that's game worthy, that's different. But when you're just going after a player, that's just wrong.
Yeah,
That's not good. We don't need to go down that trail either. But yeah, so I say good for them. Good for the WNBA. Good for Caitlin Clark. that's awesome. But as we move forward and we start to transition this episode and the next part of this to next week and all that's going on, we did something this weekend. We got together another small fantasy football league, but we had a little caveat this year from a request of one of our MVP listeners out there. Instead of just doing another league and having another team, Justin had the idea of doing a father-son league. So we pulled together some of our friends and their kids to do a father-son fantasy football league, but we put a caveat on it, and it's called a guillotine league, and it's kind of like a survival league. I figured there was a way to do this, and I thought it was pretty cool. But my brother Brady suggested, I don't check my lineup after week 3 anyway, so can we do something that makes this interesting? So we drafted in a league of where it's going to be basically round robin, and after week 3, the lowest score gets eliminated, and their players get put up for free agency through the waiver wire and all that stuff. And I thought that's an interesting way to keep you interested in the football season. So, Justin,
Yeah.
how did you and Brenton fare in our draft? Are you pleased? How many weeks do you think it takes before your team gets guillotined?
Well, I'm a confident fantasy football drafter. So I think I'm going to win the whole thing. So now that also comes with I'm the commissioner of this league, so I'll get blamed for everything. Even if I win, it'll be my brother that says, "Well, this is unfair. You rigged it." But it won't matter. He'll be out like week 4 or 5. If I had to take that, my brother's out before I. No, but Brent and I had fun. It was the first time Brent sat and did a draft with a draft board and watching players fall off and win the draft bye weeks. And this one was very specific to, just offense only. Really, it's really driven offense only. We didn't. There was no kickers either.
Nope.
It's just quarterbacks, running backs, some flex, tight end, and but yeah, it'll be fun to see how he manages it. I'm not going to. I sat and watched him. We drafted on the same computer in 2 different web browsers, and so I was just watching him like pick through players, and I was like, "Oh, I don't know." And then he'd be like, "Well, but Dad, like their number, whatever, overall on Madden is this number, so they're gonna be good." So I'm like, "Okay, cool,
Yep.
that works." So, but no, we had fun. He's looking forward to taking. He looks at the thing every day. He gets on there. And as we invited people to it, he's like, "Oh, Dad, we got somebody else that just signed in. We got somebody's new person. Who's this? This name, Chulipa Batman. Who's that?" And I mean, we have some fun names. We have we have a duck in a box. We have a Chalupa Batman. Chocolate Squirrels. Diane West. I don't know. We got some interesting names on here. Maybe we should, maybe we'll have a fun little trophy, a passing trophy somehow, or online something. We'll figure out something at the end. But were you able to? You were able to do live draft, right? You were traveling. Were you able to get on live draft a little bit, or did you auto draft, or did you have your son do it for you?
I auto drafted, and I don't like to auto draft, but I had to auto draft because I was traveling and had other plans. But so I'll probably be out in week 5, most likely. So,
well, yeah, your brother and his son, they had auto draft because they had something going on, or like your brother says, he's like, I don't know. I'm not going to take care of it after week 3 anyway. So,
yeah, it'll be cool. It'll be fun. So,
yeah. So it'll be fun to watch. I wish it was like an animated website, like a draft board, like each week. The guillotine comes down and cuts off somebody's head of the team. It just like rolls around, and you like kick it around or something. Medieval times or something. I don't
yeah, but it'll be interesting. It'll be cool.
It'll be a different take on all the other different leagues that we've been a part of.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'll be mad. I will be furious. I might even just delete the league if I get out for it. So
there you go. I guess that's just like Twitter guy.
Yep.
You lose the fantasy football league and just quit. Just Take your ball and go home.
Won't be eating poop out of a solo cup.
Yep.
Dog poop. That is.
Well, speaking of taking your ball and going home, let's predict some games. We predicted some games last week. We stuck to all college football last week, and we were picking with the spread. So I asked Justin this question in our pre-show meeting, and he didn't answer. I told him to wait for this. So we're picking with the spread, and neither one of us really care to do that. So I'm going to leave it up to you, Justin. Last week we were both 3-2 because of the point spread. Our games that we picked, I would have been ahead, but I didn't pick the points. You got the win because you picked the points with North Dakota State over Colorado, even though Colorado won.
I
So
called on, didn't I? Yeah.
you did call it, yeah, and that was good. North Dakota State still lost. You picked them to win outright, but you still got the win because of the points, and so good for you. 3-2 to 3-2. If you were betting games with Justin and BJ, you would have won barely. So good job. But so the question is, what do you want to do going forward? Do you want to pick point spread or no?
Let's pick point spread because I think the
Okay.
way we're gonna do it, and having some of our local favorites, I don't really. Yeah, we're gonna pick local favorites, pro and college, and then I think you talked about picking some maybe large spread games to
Yeah.
see how we feel and maybe like the top college football game of the week or something like that based off of
Yep.
rankings maybe or something like that. Is that what you're thinking about doing?
Yeah. So last week I won't go recap every week because I think that just redundant. But so both of us were 3-2. This week I picked 5 games. I picked 2 pro games because the NFL's starting this week, and 3 college games. 1 local and also personal for us, and then the best top 5 game. The number 1 team this week is playing an FCS school, so I didn't pick them this week for that game. And so then I picked the largest point spread, just like you said. Yeah. So the games we have this week are the top college game. We've got Texas at Michigan, number 3 Texas going to Michigan at number 10, and Texas on the road is a 7.5 point favorite against the Wolverines. Who you got there, Justin?
Wow. This is a tough pick because I don't like Texas. I'm a Nebraska fan, so one of our.
Well, you don't like Michigan either.
Well, but here's the thing: like in the SEC, they always talk about you should root for your other teams. You know, they always chant SEC no matter what, right?
Oh,
So
yeah, yeah.
But in the Big Ten, there's so many teams now. You have to root for the Big Ten to get, more exposure, so we can get 4 teams in the playoff or something. But
isn't there like 37 teams in the Big Ten now?
16, I believe. Yeah, it's coast to coast.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. But I think I'm gonna go. I wasn't impressed by Michigan this weekend at all. They struggled. On the road, I'm gonna go Michigan.
You're going Michigan. Okay. Yeah. Well,
because it's at home.
Yeah. That's 7.5 at home. 7.5. Getting 7.5 points at home. I mean, that's a huge. That's almost a 10-point spread, as the experts say.
Correct, because you get 3 points at home, anyways.
Right. So I mean, that's huge. That's a 2-score game that they're predicting. So you got Michigan, and I'm saying all that to say I'm going to take Texas. I think Michigan's going to be they're going to be left out this year. So I'm taking Texas on this one, hoping that Arch Manning gets back in the game like he did in week 1.
Well, in Michigan, they're really good at cheating. So, I mean, they have that going.
So yeah, that's true. So you got Michigan, I got Texas. We'll move on. Let's do the other college game that's not local, and then we'll save the local game for the last. But the other college game that I picked for us to predict is the biggest point spread of the weekend. And again, this is based on when I look at them before the show. So if these change, we're still going to go off of what we're doing in the show. But So Middle Tennessee State is going to Ole Miss, and Ole Miss is favored by 41 points. 40. Last week we picked Oklahoma Temple game at 42.5, and Oklahoma covered that spread. But Ole Miss, 41-point favorite against Middle Tennessee State. What you got there?
Oh yeah, Ole Miss is gonna. This is gonna be like a 52-0 game. Like they might even 10 points over the 41 spread. Yeah, Ole Miss.
So,
they're covering it.
Okay.
Yeah,
I've got Ole Miss too, and I just want to make sure Lane Kiffin is the coach at Ole Miss, right?
Yeah.
So you're right. I mean, this is at least a 50-point game because
Oh.
he's merciless. He'll just keep his foot on the throttle. So
Well, you have
yeah,
to now with the playoff. You like people.
yeah,
They don't talk about point spreads, but you have to beat those teams that you're supposed to beat them by. If you're supposed to beat them by 27.5 or 41.5, you better beat them.
yep, very true. All right, good. So we both weeks we've taken the point spread on the biggest game, and we did win last week. Both of us won, so that's good. So let's switch over to the NFL. I went ahead and just picked our two teams again, but I'm gonna mix it up this season, and we're not gonna only pick our teams all year long. That would be boring. So, but I did start the year with this. So we got Denver at Seattle. Seattle's a 6-point favorite. Denver coming to the Pacific Northwest this weekend.
Are you flying with them back to the game?
They do, because they are owned by Walmart now. They do fly commercial because they've got to keep prices low.
Yeah.
So maybe. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But let me just go ahead, since this is I'll take the lead on this one. That way you don't have to give us all this stuff. But Denver started 3-0 in the preseason. They are preseason champs every single year. Last year they started the season with Seattle as well, and they lost. And kind of was a rough go for Denver to start the season last year. I think Denver is. I'm a homer. So 6-point favorite for Seattle, I think, is, even though they're a home team, I think is too much for Denver. I think it's a high scoring game though, and I think Denver pulls it out and they win. I got to go with Denver on this one.
What time is that game at? Do you know?
I did know. Let me find it real quick. You talk about your analysis, and I'll find it real quick.
Well, so all right. Anytime that if you play an early game out on the West Coast, it's when you get tripped up a little bit.
Yeah,
but
it's a 2:05. It's a 2:05 game, so it's an afternoon game. Okay. And it's saying 2:05 because of where I'm at in the country. Yeah, so it's the afternoon game.
Yeah, it's the first. It's the first game of the day. Well, yeah, 2:05 your time, right? So it'd be noon.
It will be the it'll be the first. It'll be the afternoon game. It won't be the early game.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
It's not the 9 a.m. game.
I carried my 1 in the wrong spot.
Yeah. So it's the afternoon game. But Denver Mountain Time to West Coast isn't that bad. Yeah.
Yeah, it's only an
hour.
hour.
But you're right. Coming to the West Coast for that morning game on a Sunday is difficult for most teams. But I don't think the Denver to Seattle commute is that difficult. But that's just me again being homer. So
Bo Nix is getting the starting nod, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
The former Oregon Duck.
Yep. And Auburn Tiger.
Tiger, which was funny because he played for Auburn when they played Oregon, and then he ended up going to Oregon later on down the road. But anyways, I think I'm going to go with the Broncos.
All right.
And I think Bo Nix is going to be somebody. I think he's got a little fanfare up in the Pac Northwest.
Yeah.
But we're going to go with him. And no, okay. I'm not picking him because I drafted him. Anyway, I don't have him on any of my leagues. So, but
I don't either. I have a rule with that. I don't. As a Bronco fan, I never draft a Chief. The one time I drafted a Chief, he tore his ACL in week 1.
And, yep.
Yep, I had the number one pick that year and picked Priest Holmes, and he tore his ACL in the first week, and I said I will never again pick a Chief because it took everything I had in me because I hate the Chiefs to pick a Chief. So I don't care how good they are. But here's the thing about fantasy football when it comes to these things. I was looking at the top 100 chart. The Broncos had no players in the top 100 chart this year. I think that's a good predictor of how well your season is going to go because of your talent for fantasy football. Denver has no players there, and that doesn't bode well for the Broncos. I know that, but I'm going to go with what Mark Schlereth has said. Stink has said that the Broncos have a lot of talent that is not your mainstream noticeable talent. So, and I know he's a homer as well because he's a former Bronco and lives in Denver. But I'm going Denver to start the year 1-0. So good for you as well. Let's go Dallas at Cleveland. Cleveland is at home. They're a 2.5-point favorite, so that means that Vegas has them a little bit less than the normal 3-point spread for just being
It's
at home. So
it's like a push. It's a
it
push.
is. It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I Cowboys are well. They got CeeDee Lamb signed, so that's good. I'm happy that it's not at home because then hopefully Jerry's not on the TV so much because that gets annoying. But on the road, that's a tough one. Cowboys. I don't know what their defense is going to be like this year. Haven't really studied up on it, but I think Dak's going to head into this year having a fairly large year. So I'm going to go Cowboys. It's a homer pick, but Cowboys. And they'll win that outright. So I think they're gonna win by like 6. So
Okay.
I'm picking them by
Well,
6.
I'm not gonna do the friend thing that you did and pick in my team, but I'm gonna go against you just to go against you, and I'm gonna take the Browns. I think the Browns are continuing to look like a better franchise, and I know that sounds really weird to say, but I just think it's funny to watch the drama of the Cowboys and um
I don't
like
disagree with it at all. It's literally drama filled all the time.
it is. So I'm going Cleveland to win, and I'd say they get a field goal at the buzzer to win by 1 and not beat the point spread. But I'm going to pick Cleveland to cover because that's how we do this.
The
So
Cleveland Browns, but their color is more orange like the Broncos. I got it. All right, I'm with you.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that
So
makes sense.
okay, so we got those 4 picks. Let's go to the local game that has local ties to you as also just a favorite for myself, a rivalry game or a former rivalry game. Some bulletin board material already being said again this year, even though both teams really dropped it last year. Um, we have Colorado coming to Lincoln to play the Huskers.
At night.
Coach Prime versus Coach Rule. Shador Sanders versus Dominic Raiola, not Dominic,
Dominic.
Dylan
Dylan.
Raiola. And we've got Nebraska at home favored by 7.5 against the Buffs.
Oh, yeah. The Puffs. The Puffs. Flipper. Yeah, I told you this last week. I don't like picking. I won't bet ever Nebraska anything, but friendly wagers. I mean, I'm a homer. I think Nebraska every year is going to win every game, no matter what. Um, they played. They didn't play with their food, so to speak, with the team they played with last week. They just came out, dominated. It was close
Mm-hmm.
early, but they just came in. They didn't mess around. Their I their team is rested from the sense that the defense didn't have to play, so that's going to be key to stopping Colorado. Their wide receiver depth is crazy at Colorado. It's going to be a shootout, but Nebraska is going to cover this, and they're going to win by. They're going to cover that. They're going to win by 9. The Huskers are going to win by 9. Yeah,
Okay.
and it's going to be they'll get a late touchdown and they'll miss the extra point, and that's where they'll make it 9 points.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, everything you said, I completely understand, and I can't argue it by any means. And yeah, I want to just bring perspective because I said last week that I'm all in on the Huskers until they disappoint me every single year. And I sit there and I watch it. I'm like, why do I even watch it? There was a couple of years ago, and even into last year, I stopped watching. I would start the game and I would get so frustrated because there was a lack of adjustments. I mean, I've only coached to the level of like elementary school basketball and baseball. So I know I'm not a coach, but what I do know about coaching is that you got to make adjustments. If something's not working, you got to change it up. And that's the one thing about old school Nebraska that never had to be the case because you just run the ball, 4 yards in a cloud of dust, run the option, I form power I, give it to the fullback, whatever it was. Tom Osborne didn't have to make adjustments in most of his games.
Yeah.
Because he just controlled whatever they wanted to do. They went out and did it. And they had the bigger and the better athletes and they just did what they had to do. And so those were the good old days of Nebraska football. But now Coach Rule he's a coach. He can at the college game. He can make adjustments mid-game. He's got multiple ways to do it, and I think, especially early on in the season, that's how you have to beat Colorado. You've got to be able to make adjustments to beat them because they're going to come out firing. They've got the depth at wide receiver. They've got the future NFL quarterback. They've got the drama around their coach and around all the stuff that goes on with that. They've got all of that in them. So they're going to come in with some swagger. And if Nebraska gets punched in the nose right away, if this was 2-3 years ago, they start bleeding and start crying, and then we as fringe fans have to go and watch something else or take your kids to Target. But
Yeah.
I just think
Or
this is one of those
put
games.
them on the small TV, like
Yeah,
a 4 TV setup.
there you go. There you go. That would be your reduction. This is one of those games where I'm sitting here saying, okay, Coach Rule, Husker Nation, okay, I'm with you again this year. I believe Matt Rule is the guy. I think he's the man for the job. He's all the things that we say, and I think this is the year. And I think this game, I'll be like the heads say, this is a pivotal turning point game for the program once again. And I say that because of how they can bounce back. I don't care what you say as a Homer Husker fan and all of these single digit losses over the last decade or whatever they lead the nation and all of this stuff, and I'm like, they're still losses.
Correct.
If you want to hang your hat on moral victories, then you're going to be a loser because that's what you're doing. You're still losing ball games. This is not a moral victory game for the Huskers. They got to come into their home field. They got to protect their home field. They got to beat up on the Buffs. I've been more vocal. I enjoy watching the drama that is CU Buffs football right now. And I've been on that train with Coach Prime and watching him. I have. You've been bitter towards me about that, but I am picking Nebraska to win this game, and I think they win by 2 touchdowns. I think this is a pivotal game. So
yeah, I mean, it is from a mental standpoint. This is that game that should set, even though it doesn't really mean anything. We always say it doesn't mean anything in the Big Ten, right? Because the goal is to get to a conference championship or whatever, however that looks. But like I said, like any mindset, you should always think you're going to win every game, and you should be the bigger player every time. And if you trust your coaches, in the years past, a lot of these players didn't trust their coaches, so that's why you saw shrivel up and go in a corner and cry, and you're checking your pants because teams just make crap on them because they beat you to death. But yeah, it's gonna be a wild scene down here in Lincoln. It's a hot ticket right now. So, but you said 2 touchdowns, 14.
that's just my
Yeah,
I'm trying to prove to my Husker fan friends that listen to us that I still do. Like I said last week, this is the truth. I'm all in on the Huskers early on, and then usually by week 4 or 5, I'm not joking. I got to turn the game off because I'm about to lose my salvation. Let's just be honest. So
yeah,
I don't think this Husker team now. Again, Dylan Raiola is a freshman. He's a freshman quarterback, but some of the stuff he showed in the pocket last week, some of the things that he was able to do, and getting hit and still completing a pass, the team rallying around him. He's as a freshman, he's still the man for the job. He's still leading this team. So
yeah.
if Nebraska can protect the ball, protect home field, I think they win by 14. If Dylan Raiola goes out there and throws 4 picks, obviously Colorado's going to win by 20.
Yeah, don't do that. No more
Yeah.
picks. Let's just try to keep the picks down. I think we had more picks last year than we had touchdown passes. So keep that.
Yep.
Um, well, all right. Well, we got through our 5 picks. Um, so we're at the end of the show. Um, so what do we got going on this weekend? Okay, so I'm just gonna transition right away because Colorado's in town in Lincoln.
Yeah.
So that's what I'll be doing this weekend. I will be hanging out. I might be going down tailgating to the game to watch the game. I'll have to find out what my dad wants to do this weekend. It's his birthday this weekend, so fit in my dad's birthday. And oh, we have a local radio station that's doing a live after show broadcast at one of our properties our church owns that's near the stadium. So I might go down there and check that out because I was the one that kind of set that up. 1620 The Zone out of Omaha is doing their call-in show that's after the game. Uh, and so they're going to do it live from a tailgate. Our church has a property where we park cars. So they're going to be there right there with the fans doing their live remote show for, depending on how well the game goes, hours after the show. So I might go
Nice.
down there and check that out. It'd be kind of fun. I listen to those guys every day. So they're going to do that game, and then later in the year they're going to do a full all day remote for a Friday night game that Nebraska's playing. They're going to do all their shows tonight. So yeah,
Are they
kind of be
are they doing
fun.
that show from Destinations?
Yep, the old Destinations Coffee House. It's not a coffee
Wow.
house anymore, so we kind of have it turned into an event area people can rent out. Like this weekend, somebody's renting out the building for a birthday party during the Colorado game. But the property itself, we can park. I don't know how many cars we can park there, but we sell tailgating spots and as a fundraiser for the property. So
Cool.
they were talking on the radio. They wanted to do a live broadcast, but they didn't have a lot of money. And they said, "Does anybody know of a property we can set up shop that would have good internet and stuff?" And I was like, "Yes, I have a place." And then so we worked out the details, and we're gonna do a live remote from there. It'll be something new that they haven't done in Lincoln in a while, and they're looking forward to doing upcoming for the Illinois Friday night game. They're gonna do all their shows all day from that broadcast. So from that one
Nice.
location. So be kind
Cool.
of some fun. You check that.
Yeah, make sure you get a picture with the talking heads and tell them you got a podcast and see if we can share some sponsors or something. That'd
Yeah,
be cool.
yeah. So what about you?
No,
What do
that's
you got
awesome.
going on?
Well, I'll be coming home from this conference I'm at. I'm actually in Buff Country right now, but I'll be coming back to the Pacific Northwest on Friday, and so I get to see my kids again on Saturday. I'm excited for that. Um, don't have a whole lot planned that I know of, so just watching some football and hanging out with people I love, and um, I that to me, I'm telling you, Justin, the older I get, the more important it is just to spend time with people you love. So I've had an opportunity since I've been out in Colorado. Those of you that know me know I've lived in Colorado for 11, 12 years of my life in different places, and been in Colorado this week and got to see some friends. And tomorrow I get to see, I don't think he listens to the podcast, but I get to see my old youth pastor, youth worker. Really excited to see Phil. So I got to see my cousin on Sunday. I got to see my friend Chris and Anita yesterday, so shout out to all of them. And then I get to see my old youth worker Phil tomorrow, so I'm excited for that. But yeah, I'll be watching football and hanging out with people I love. So there's nothing better. As you said to me this week, as you were asking about my days, um, it's good for the soul. And
Yeah,
being with people you love, being with people that love you unconditionally, care about you no matter what. There's nothing better. So I'm thankful I got people around me like that still, and I'm thankful for those opportunities to just close this out on a sappy note. Obviously, Justin, you've been one of those friends for me for almost 30 years, so I'm thankful for that. And it has been 3 days, and we still talk, so thankful for that. But again, this weekend's going to be about just catching up with those people I love, and looking forward to it. So.
well, good deal. Well, yeah, I second that thing of what BJ said about family. You know, that's why I have 4 TVs in my basement. I can't get yelled at for being gone. I can be stuck in. I get yelled at for being downstairs in the basement, not upstairs. But um, it is good for the soul to be around family and friends, and, especially people you haven't seen in a while. So
Well, good. Well, thanks again for spending the time tonight, Justin, and for all that you do to make this happen. And it's been fun, and I know we'll look forward to next week as well. If you have questions or comments, or if you have just have come into a lot of wonderful resources, and you have a business or a company that you want to sponsor this wonderful podcast about irrelevant news and just what we want to talk about, we would love to talk to you. We still haven't put our email in the show notes, but that's fine. You can find us on our socials, on our
yeah,
LinkedIn,
you can
and
leave comments anywhere. We'll find
true,
them,
true. We'll find them, or we won't. But
or
if
you have our phone numbers. Most likely, you can just text us.
yeah, yeah, let us know if you know of somebody that would love to sponsor us. We'd love to quit our day job. So, thanks for hanging out tonight, Justin, and for spending the time. And we will definitely catch you next time. Here's to a lack of communication of irrelevant age news. We'll see you next time.
See ya.